everyone. It's a delight speaking to you about how to be peaceful yourself and to make the world a more peaceful and blissful world. And I will present a theory of transcendence called V theory on how you can improve your own life and make the world more peaceful and blissful. I'm Anil Maheshwari. I'm a professor at Maharishi International University, the home of consciousness-based education and consciousness-based leadership and everything consciousness-based. So I will talk to you about what is consciousness, what's transcendence, and how we produce the effect, some clear evidence on that. What is transcendence? Transcendence is the idea of transcending our narrow selves that we very often get engaged in, and getting outside of that, transcending their boundaries and just reaching the higher levels. So when consciousness, which is all there is left free to express and experience itself, that is what we call transcendence. You reach a level which is transcendent. So transcendent is that absolute, non-changing, non-variable, eternal, infinite, unbounded, invincible aspect of life, which is the core of inner being of everyone's life. That's what Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, the founder of our university, said. At that stage, the intellect becomes aware of itself through transcending, and we obtain a direct, unmediated experience of our own true self. We realize that true self is self-realization as beyond space, time, form, beyond thoughts and objects, and that is transcendence. So premise of this is that there are two levels of existence. There is an absolute level at which we are all pure consciousness, and there is a relative level at which we are discrete human beings and discrete entities. And so long as we are aware of that their existence at both levels, then it's great. So look at our states of consciousness, right? We have normal states of consciousness. We call sleeping state, dreaming state, waking state. Like we're talking right now, the waking state of consciousness. So there are three normal states of consciousness. But then there is a fourth state of consciousness called the transcendent consciousness, where our self-awareness is high. We are aware of who we are, but we are not aware of any content of our experience. And that is the joy of being in that state. Of course, you can reach higher states in which the awareness of the self, the pure unbounded self, can seep through every life activity, even when we are operating in the relative domain. So the next stage would be what we would call cosmic consciousness, where even being in the waking state, our awareness of transcendental consciousness is there. And then we get closer and closer when there's very fine perception, where there's very little distinction between me and the other. And as that happens, then essentially we reach the unity consciousness, which is where I am everything, everything is me. In Vedic knowledge, it's called Brahman consciousness or unity consciousness. That is the law of, that's the field of pure consciousness, which is the field of all the laws of nature. I will explain to you my theory or model of transcendence. So let's say we are living at the surface level all the time. We're talking, I'm discussing with you, and you're doing your various things. And we are operating that most of the time. But if we find a technique or a way to transcend to the absolute, right? And that absolute is this pure consciousness, which is the field of all the laws of nature, where everything connects, everything is one. Then life becomes very blissful. What happens is that thoughts, our awareness of things become finer and finer till it actually evaporates. We are one with everything, we're one with nature, we're one with consciousness. We stay there for some time, we become more energized, more relaxed, more creative, more connected, more unbounded. And then after some time, we just come back up, and then we're back to the real world. So like in a way, we are moved a little ahead, a little better, they're fresher, a little more joyful, a little more happy. So that is the idea of theory model of, theory V. Now, there is no one technique. Almost all spiritual traditions prescribe one or more techniques of transcending. And some would suggest prayers, devotion, or sacred practices to cleanse oneself and to reach the transcendent states where one feels a sense of bliss or joy. And there are many, many techniques from of meditation, particularly coming from the Eastern traditions of Vedic traditions or Buddhist traditions, Zen traditions, and you may have known of those techniques. But those are fairly easy techniques, they're effortless techniques for the most part. And Vedic knowledge and Yoga Sutras based meditations are premised on sort of this idea of being their unified, unbounded consciousness. And transcendental meditation is the one technique that I practice, and many of the most people on our campus practice, our students practice, and many people, millions of people around the world practice. That's the one we use. It's a mantra-based meditation. Mantra is a sound, a sacred sound, which has no meaning, but it has a capability of effortlessly transcending surface reality and going down. So that is one of the techniques we practice. Now, what is the benefits of transcending, especially using transcendent meditation? That's it, using transcendent meditation. Uh, we have compared with other techniques of meditation, with contemplation, reflection, and we found that a transcendental meditation technique leads to lower levels of stress. That's kind of very early research done at Stanford University, that no other stress management technique comes even close to reducing stress level. The amount of hard data available on that is extraordinary. Hundreds of studies are available on the benefits of TM, transcendental meditation on stress, and several just focus on stress and well-being. Benefits of TM actually range beyond stress, mind, body, and psychological. As I said, we began to talk about reduce stress, reduce anxiety, inner peace, great awareness, and sense of self-realization or enlightenment, which is what I was talking about, peaceful and blissful existence. Behind all of this is hundreds of studies, which I'm not showing too many of, and also the physiological measurements like the cardiological, neurological, brain integration, creativity, overall better health, and even the turning on and off of genes, epigenetics, that's been recently also found to happen correctly when people are meditating using transcendental meditation, correctly meaning on the beneficial side. But even more important than that, from my perspective, is what it does to society, to business, to the world. In business, it leads to transformative leadership, more creative thinking within organization, holistic thinking, faster response time without being too reactive, well-being in the workplace, better relationships, and lower healthcare costs for business. And just projected to the world, it creates a sort of sense of coherence in society when people meditate together. And we found that square root of 1% of population meditating TM and TM cities and advanced techniques together can increasingly or significantly create increased coherence and peace in the world. And it's been proven again and again with large-scale experiments and with over 50 research papers published in top journals around this concept. So this is a proto-paradigm, you could say it's coming up. Mechanics is kind of still we're understanding how the brain connects sort of at the smallest level of frequency to the largest level of frequency, collective level of frequency. So we will come out with that, but the evidence is undeniable that a certain number of advanced meditators meditate together creates a laser beam effect which injects coherence into the collective consciousness of the fabric that we at the level of business or to the whole society, the whole world. So that is what keeps us excited and working towards. So this is one big chart about particular research over 5 years in the U.S., where about 2,000 people were meditating, which is square root of 1% of the U.S. population. And you can see the trends that what were normal without intervention, and when the intervention happened, the homicide rate went down, violent crime rate went down, motor vehicle rate went down. In other words, there's a sharp shift in the projection curve as measured. These are all public data. Infant mortality rate came down, fatality of accidents came out, drug-related. These are all published in SAGE and other journals like Journal of Consciousness Studies, very prestigious journals. So this is what creates the effect of well-being. So what is the conclusion? Conclusion moving ahead, right? The road ahead, moving ahead, good for business, good for the world, is that we are all connected. Separation is a myth. The world is one family. And practicing transcendence leads to benefits at our own level, individual level, but also at the social level and world level. And a small number of meditators, relatively small number of meditators together can create bliss and peace for the whole world. Isn't that amazing? In the current era, like where there's everything disruptive change, I think the unbounded transcendent is a greater need for us. So we should all connect with the transcendent and create peaceful and bliss for ourselves. And as more and more people are learning the technique, and we feel that world peace is around the corner. Thank you very much. Moving forward, let's do what is good for the world, good for you, good for business. Thank you.